Probably go over. Always go over. I mean, seems like pretty good topic.
This is not a show and might not even be a connection. Here's Judah and guest.
And my guest tonight is Mike Cedras. How you doing today, man?
All right, just it's Friday. Thank God! Thank God it's Friday.
You're gonna TGIF me, dude. I used to love some TGIF on ABC.
Did I do that?
Was that really? Was that where he got to start? Where Urkel? It was Urkel.
I think that was in the TGIF lineup.
Okay. I was always Boy Meets World. I'm a big Savage fan, like from his older brother to his younger brother. I've always been a big fan of the Savages.
We've been watching Cobra Kai on Netflix.
I totally want to see it with my family. Nobody wants to see it but me.
Oh, it's worth watching by yourself. It's probably better. It's
probably better.
It's fan service in all the right ways. Because they know all the things they're supposed to do, but they hit it like on the nose so hard, and they're doing it. It's just like, and they have a character who's really unwoke, and they can get away with it because he's the bad guy.
But he's the bad guy, though, right? He's the bad guy.
He's like when did Karate Kid come out in the 80s?
I don't. Yeah.
Whenever Karate Kid, it's like he never progressed past that. So he's saying all the same things. And it's pretty great. It's pretty great.
Well, so you're saying that they made it for people like me. No, don't even worry about adding my kids to this, because I talked about watching it. My wife's like, "No, we have to go back and watch the original." I'm like, "I don't have time to watch the original. I know what happened."
Yeah,
I just want to watch them.
It helps watching the original for sure. I think you could enjoy it without watching it. Like they flash back to everything. And all the big moments between, the Karate Kid and Johnny and the Cobra Kai and like Ralph Macchio. All the same people are in it, just older.
That's beautiful.
But but there's a kid in there, and we were watching, and it was like, oh, is this Sean from Boy Meets World? Like he looks exactly. It's not. It's like a new version of him. Like he looks exactly like him, and then. I looked him up on IMDb, and he was in an episode of Girl Meets World. Not related to them, just like an extra or just like a small part.
That's crazy! Wow. Well, you had me at Sean, so I'm in. I'm watching tonight. All right. Well, let's get down and dirty because I don't have very much time. I mean, I have plenty of time, but I mean. Realistically,
you have the antibodies. I mean,
I have the antibodies, so come at me, bro. I probably shouldn't have posted that. I don't know what it is. I even made a T-shirt that has like the positive and everything, and my dad he looks at me like I'm like I literally I have disability or something. He says, "What are you doing?" Like we don't. My dad doesn't really believe in COVID, so it's difficult. But he's like, "Why? We positive," and he just looks at me like.
Yeah, there's a shirt, and it's like I survived COVID, and all I got was this lousy shirt.
So I made my own T-shirt and it says "I survived COVID, baby," and it has the positive. Yeah, some big disgrace, but I don't know. I think it's, to me. I know about 40 people, maybe more, that have had it, and all survived it and survived it fine, like easily. Most of the people that got it, I know. Barely had any symptoms. Like the worst symptom was they lost their sense of smell. Now that was pretty weird. But
yeah, that's what have been hearing from people that I talked to who had it. It's like loss of taste and smell. It's like they didn't get diagnosed, but it's like they were sick. Maybe they were only sick like maybe like a week, but they lost their sense of taste and smell. I heard they were talking about. Yeah,
if you lost your sense of taste and smell, there's like nothing else like it. So
yeah, I remember I had mono like 12 years ago. Like right before it was the summer. I was getting married in July that summer, and I got it in May. And I was also graduating school, so it was like the recovery window was like for my sister who got it really bad. Like if it took me that long to recover, it would have been like right up to our wedding, and I wouldn't have been able to work or anything. But I remember after that, I got over it in like maybe I don't know, somewhere between 4 and 6 weeks. But there were a couple weeks after where I was still working back up to strength.
Dude, you had COVID.
Yeah, 12 years ago.
Well, you've had it ever since. You're ground zero. All right. Well, let's move on.
I'm a sleeper.
You're the sleeper. So you brought up this meme. It has. I wonder if I could. Let me see if I can share it. It's got two white dudes, and it says. I don't know. This is a strange meme, and it, I don't know, it disturbs me. I'll say that. Let's see if I can bring it up here. Oh yeah, here we go.
Yeah, I think it's actually for a debate that's gonna. I think they're actually gonna.
It's coming up.
Yeah, I think they're actually gonna debate each other.
What?
I don't know when, but I think they're actually gonna debate.
So this right here. This is a meme that's going around. Combat inequality. Greater investments must be made in public schools so as not to accommodate the formation of pandemic pods. So I posted that thing about pandemic pods. I thought it was a great idea. I got some pushback by some of my less affluent friends, and but I mean, what? I mean, these are a couple of fluent white dudes. What?
Well, yeah. I think,
4 of the affirmative, 4 of the negative. They're going to debate.
Yeah, so I have a background in debate. I did debate in high school. So you always have a resolution. And so the affirmative is the one who puts the plan together. It says, we need this resolution. Here's what's wrong in the status quo. Here's all these reasons. And that's why we need this change, or that's why we need to enact this resolution. So here's my plan. Here's the benefits.
Which one of these dudes is? So the affirmative is John Hale.
Yeah.
Who's that dude?
I don't know. I think he writes for a paper. I think he's a journalist.
And his point is this. His thing is this: is that we should invest more in public schools because they're doing such a great job.
Right.
And Corey DeAngelis, I've heard of him actually. He's saying, you're a fool. You're a fool, John. You're a fool.
Yeah, he's just pro letting people educate their kids.
As am I.
Yeah.
Well, that's fascinating. I'm curious to see, where do you fall on this? Because I mean, you're somebody who you're not against public school like I might be. You're pretty fine with it, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think I had a perception of public school that it was one way, but when you look at it, I mean, there are a lot of really great teachers and there are people who really care about students and education. Not that, and a lot of what you hear from those people is that it's the system that's keeping them from being able to do that, or you have to meet with, your administrator. Even in charter schools, my brother-in-law's wife taught in a charter school, and she had all this work to do. And then on top of that, her administrator is pulling her in for meetings and like, let's look at these test scores and what these mean for all these kids. And she's in the classroom with the kids and knows them. And then she's trying to, then you have administrators saying, do this, you should do this to help the scores or help the kids. And it's really challenging when those people don't have relationships with the kids. And then you have boots on the ground. Sometimes they're not even supported the way they should be. And then and then kids don't get the attention they need. And and then things sort of break down. But it's not that there aren't people who care and really want to educate the best for their students.
The difficulty, I mean, I worked in the public school system for two and some change years, and what horrified me were the ones that really were doing the best job connecting with the students. I mean, doing everything, basically allies of those of us, in youth guidance and the Becoming a Man program. Those people got fired.
Yeah.
Those people got fired. And the ones that could play the game, the ones that just sort of slid under the radar, did the bare minimum. Some of them did a little bit better than bare minimum, right? But played the game, played the political game. Those are the ones that got rewarded. And I just remember Mr. Woods, like this 50-year-old dude, dreads, African-American guy, just the best teacher. Everybody in the school loved him. This was at a predominantly African-American school. They loved him.
Yeah.
He got canned. He got straight up canned right before he retired. I mean, it was like total disrespect because he wouldn't play the game. He was about the students, not about the administration. And, that did not bode well for his career.
Yeah, we had that conversation out here in the school district out here with class sizes, and they made the class sizes bigger. And that one of the impacts I saw was for the teachers, their resources are going to be less, and they're going to have to deal with more students. And, so at the end of the day, the load falls on them. And for whatever reason, they made those decisions. It's
not for whatever reason. It's for whatever reason, dude.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's, the budget's in a deficit that keeps growing, and it's like a mystery as to why that's happening. And
I just I haven't had anybody, even all the people that were whining, about more money, for CPS, when they were striking. I want somebody to tell me, like, how much money is enough, because there is billions of dollars going into that. Billions.
Right.
And they're still they're at a $1 billion deficit because of the I would say mostly because of the teacher union. Far be it from me. I don't know. But from my perspective, and I just see the best teachers in the world, just the ones that are connecting with the students, the ones that everybody loves. Those are the people that are, they're not able to move through the ranks, and they're definitely not able to topple the ones at the top that have all the control, because those people are in there forever.
Yeah.
They're not going to give up their $100,000 a year job. Come on.
Well, right.
Would you? I wouldn't.
Right. Because that is sort of like a message that unions kind of put out. And that's probably where it comes from, that teachers are underpaid. And like you see, in places, in places, depending on the affluence, like, I remember seeing like teachers in Oklahoma were making almost nothing, really making almost nothing. But then like in this area, upper middle class Chicago suburbs, teachers that have been teaching for a while, salaries are public, and it's like they're making how much? And it's over six figures.
Well,
You know,
and the sad thing about the Chicago system is that they can continue to pour money. I just watched them pour. I am not kidding you when I say millions, just millions in to the system, and yet continue to close schools.
yeah.
David Anderson says teachers unions are corrupt, mostly, in my humble opinion. I'm in one too. Appreciate you tuning in. Thank you, David. I mean, here we are, a couple of white guys, making these pronouncements. But I mean, I'm just calling it like I see it. And if somebody has a problem with that, I understand. I really do. I probably would have a problem with it. But I was in it for a while and just saw it, and I never thought that it was true. I really did I thought it was just a bunch of people just making the worst of the situation, being curmudgeons. And then I got in the situation and saw how terrible and toxic the situation was in the public school system. And and everybody around me saw the same thing. They thought, what? Wait, what? We're pouring more money into the schools and closing local schools. We're just closing schools, closing them.
That's also, in this area, there's like a town right next door, smaller, but they built a new school or did massive renovations.
Mm-hmm.
Their class size is like 14 or 15 kids, and they have a surplus. And it's not because they have so much more money coming in. They've just managed it. And it's just like, there's no, like, how do you account for that? Like, who's holding anyone accountable?
Yeah, exactly. I think this lady, in Allison Cedras in 2018. I gotta read over here. The lowest paid teacher in our district made $46,000. Really, I didn't know that. And the highest made $108. Yeah, I did not know that. Sorry. Yeah, that's what I said. 108. What? Okay, 108,000. Yeah. I've never made over 55 in my life, so it must be nice. But I'm not in the system. I don't play the game well. I mean, kudos to the people that know how to play the game. But you know what? They're evil and they're hurting lots of kids. So, they can go to hell. But for the rest of those teachers and students that are trying to make the best of it, like that, those are the ones that, I mean, my heart goes out to. I just watch them. And now with COVID, so your meme, I'll go back to the meme. Let's see. So what is it called? Let me read it. To combat inequality. Yeah. We need to, pods. And now the pandemic pods. Are those really a thing? Do you know anything about those? Like, yeah. I kind of have seen a little bit of it. In Chicagoland, is that a thing?
Yeah. And actually, in Massachusetts, they're regulating them. That if there's if they can't be more than 5 students, and if there's the teacher can't receive compensation, or there's rules about the compensation if it's not a licensed teacher and there's more than 5 students. So it's actually being regulated in some states.
Well, of course, Massachusetts would do that. Well,
we used to call it Taxachusetts when we lived it's north of, among other things.
Well, so here's the thing. I had somebody, a friend, I would consider him a friend. I like this guy. I'm in a fantasy football league with him right now, and used to be coworker. He took me to task. I posted the thing about the pod. I said, let's do this, let's start one of these pods. And he said, oh yeah, that's great. That's great for the white rich kids. What are the lower income black and brown kids going to do? And I have to say, you're completely right. So my response to him was, okay, I agree. So let's take some of that government money, because it's like the meme was like there's like $11 million earmarked for every single child in America, for education. I said I'll take a half of that, and if they want to subsidize, we'll add, we will bring on pro bono, whoever you want. If pro bono is in, if you want to subsidize it, because teaching takes effort, and takes the work is worthy of the pay. What
Oh
do
yeah.
you? I mean, and nobody's going to work for free. I mean, some people will, and that's where ministry comes in. And actually, I believe that that's where the church is failing massively right now. It's everybody in their church is hiding in their house. Like, so many kids like need education, need to be reached out to, need to be in other people's homes and hugged and what have you. But we got a ton of churches that, I mean, they're afraid of dying or something. I don't know. Giving it to their grandma. I don't know. There's some legitimate fears out there. But like I said, there's worse things than COVID, and children dying and children suffering from the lack of care is one of the number one things that we're seeing growing right now.
Yeah, it's the mental health aspect is really just devastating people. I mean, people are getting wiped out.
Yeah.
I think people that are strong are stronger now, and then people
Yeah.
that weren't are just people are just getting annihilated, and it's just um, and there's no kind of hope or recourse. It's just especially for those kids. This is the problem with the system. It's those same kids that aren't getting taken care of in the pods or can't have pods are the ones they still fall through the cracks in the public system when
Oh,
they're
absolutely.
in school. And it's I think what has happened with the pods, it's in society, it's really just like manifesting the class and cultural issues that exist. I've seen that just in like interpersonal relation, people that I know, and
Yeah.
watching from afar, and it's really difficult to watch.
I,
You know, I
yeah, it's extremely hard to watch. Yeah.
and it's
So Allison says domestic violence against children has increased by 300. Are you serious? 300%. That's
well,
depressing.
yeah,
On top of that, I just was talking to a good friend of mine who has been in his apartment since this all started, and all he doesn't have many friends.
yeah,
You know, he's a man of a few friends, and he has the internet, and
yeah,
he's always been somebody who's been on the internet a lot. But now, like, what I just said, please, like, can you just get off the internet? Maybe just, get off for a while. But the truth is, what else could you do nowadays?
yeah,
If it's not like you can go out and hang out with friends. So it's like you're between a rock and a hard place. The only thing that gives us solace is this blaring megaphone that's telling us that everybody sucks. Wow, thanks,
yeah.
world.
Well, it's like what we should be doing is like boosting our immune systems and eating better and exercising and doing all that. But it's like, who really wants to do that when you're stuck at home and like you can't even go to the movie. A lot of people, I've heard even like
Yeah.
single people who live alone will be like, yeah, the movies are the one way that I go out to distract myself, to like be with people. And not that they don't have friends, but sometimes you just go, you want to go out and do something, and it's like, well, where is that outlet?
Yeah,
And it's not there. And
it's not.
people have just been shut down, and it's just like, people are just like waiting on their lives to restart.
Well, and some people at this point are not waiting for their lives to restart. Are worried
Yeah,
that
yeah,
their lives will never restart. That life will never be the same. That no matter what happens in November, things are going to get worse. And I appreciate the voices out there. They're saying like, yeah, it's going to get bad, but don't worry because it will get better. We have faith in the people and not look. I don't have faith in the majority. Well, I'll say this: I don't have faith in the stupid people of America, but I do have faith that there is a great number of people that are resilient and they're not even if they get taken in by a lot of this stuff eventually we'll just we'll work it out. I
yeah.
believe we'll work it out.
I did have a sense, going into COVID, that for some people this is going to be the first real struggle they face and the
Mm,
real first actual crisis in their life. Like
yeah.
you see like in the suburbs and white affluent like our circles, it's just like people have all of these struggles and it's like no you don't. Like no you don't. And like
Yeah.
it's like it's almost like like you can get depressed because you have nothing to fight against, and it's just like you have so much extra energy in your body and unused mental space that's meant for problem solving and
Yeah.
even creativity and doing things. And it's uh like I have problems, but no I don't. Like not really. Like it's nothing that's not solvable.
Well,
And
I think you're right. It's like on one hand we all do have problems. On the other hand, there are things worse than what we're struggling with. And I do agree. I think that this is the COVID thing. It does really reveal a lot to me. I was once somebody who would not admit white privilege.
yeah,
That white privilege did not exist. COVID really opened my eyes to white privilege. When you're able to sit at home watching Netflix, playing on the
yeah,
internet, and scream at other people for going out and not wearing a mask or something like that. When you're able to have that kind of viewpoint, when like 99% of the people that I saw out there who were forced to go out there to make a living, like they couldn't stay home, they couldn't work from home. You can't
well
work
right,
from home being a
well
mechanic.
yeah, yeah. In my job, I paint people's houses, so it's like
Yeah.
I, I've been blessed with like a great summer. It's
Yeah.
hardly rained all summer,
Mm-hmm.
and I sort of shifted my business to do more outside work. So I've been busy and I've been working, but it's also like on customers to let me inside their house and to trust me. And, I also have to trust that, in the beginning of COVID, people postponed projects. There were a couple of weeks I wasn't working and I had no idea it was going to happen. And it's just, you know, uh,
Well, and that's the thing is that I don't think any of us are saying that COVID is not real or anything like that. It's just that I think I think what it comes down to for me is it's a lot easier for us to say let's shut down everything when I can work from home on my computer watching Netflix half the time, you
yeah,
know? When I can when I have the privilege to be able to homeschool my kids, they're dude, I it felt overwhelming when I've got students that I know that are going home to like single parents, sometimes not even their parents,
yeah.
abusive, and I'm not saying it's like the worst thing in the world. I'm talking about abusive, like verbally abusive. But there's worse than that. I know there's worse than that out there. If
Oh,
that's
yeah.
what I'm seeing, if that's what's admitted to me, I know that there's way worse out there.
Yeah.
And they don't have it's not like they have like hey, we're we're gonna up our Comcast. Just get the $100. That's fine. It's like, no. I mean, these are people that get shut down every other month because they can't pay the bill.
Yeah. Yeah. And I put myself in those situations, just like the job I do and single parent, and it's just like I can't even figure out how it would work, at all. And it's just like, but that's just life for people outside of the pandemic, and now we're inside COVID and everything's shut down, and and it's also, schools around here put out notices like within a day or two, kids not logging in, like, we're going to be monitoring for truancy and you must log in, and if you don't, you're going to be truant. And it's just like, okay. And if Biden gets elected with a prosecutor who has a history of prosecuting people for truancy,
yeah,
and laughing about it, it's like,
yeah,
who in the world is that helping?
There is. I mean, there's something sick on both sides, right? There's something sick about people like me. I'll admit it. I'll admit it. I have a sickness where I support Trump, and yet he's probably one of the least Christian, one of the least couth.
Well, yeah.
He's a pig. I support the pig, but I told somebody today, he's some bitch, but he's my son bitch. He's like,
yeah, but a lot of people can't even say that. Like, they have to they have to say he's Christian.
Right.
And
There's all kinds of people. There's all kinds of people on both. And so on the other side, it's like, it's, of course, to me, it's worse. But to me, that's my perspective. We want to defund the police while we are electing probably the biggest proponent of police action in our history. And
their nomination is a middle finger to Black Lives Matter and the justice movement. It's a huge middle finger. Like, they should be outraged and like, they should be storming like DNC headquarters. Like, like,
yeah.
And then on the other side, you have like Rand Paul wrote the Breonna Taylor Act.
Yeah, I know.
And then he got rushed by Black Lives Matter protesters, and it's just like,
the Black Lives Matter. So I recently saw a Scott Adams. I love Scott Adams. Do you know who Scott Adams is? He wrote Dilbert. He's a Dilbert guy. His not in his most recent, but he had a podcast recently. He talked about how is it that one of the most important movements in our lifetime, as the USA, is being run by some of the worst managers, some of the, I mean, people that just don't know their heinies from a hole in the ground type people. Where you have probably the greatest movement in our life where we could have seen real change. Like, there was a moment there where you could have seen real change for race. And instead we have groups of white people accosting old people trying to fill their tanks.
Well, you know what it is that Black Lives Matter has been infiltrated by white privilege. And it's,
I know.
I mean, a lot, like, a lot of times more than half of them are white. And it's those like white radicals that push it beyond even the platform. And then it's like the people that are a part of it are like, what am I part of now? Like, they like get co-opted, and it's just like, that's what, I can say Black Lives Matter. Absolutely. If you can't say that, and you have to like pivot to another Lives Matter, that's, I don't think there's any reason. I think there's a lot of people in pain that live in a situation that I don't understand. And it's like, you think like, oh, this person got shot. Well, maybe, he was a criminal and he got, he was resisting. But it's like, you've got to understand that, like, the trauma of everyday life.
Well,
and
I agree.
that and it's like people living in a, like, in a state of trauma and like PTSD just because of their daily life, and then seeing something like that, like that's real for some people.
I agree. And I don't think what's happening today is doing anything to help that.
Right. No, I mean, and if I feel like they should be furious. And if, and if it was about helping them, they would be furious. They'd be furious.
It's not. And here's the thing is that I don't really think the difference, I said this with Josh, is I don't think Black Lives Matter is really what's going on here. Because in reality, no lives matter. I mean, let's be honest. All of us we are selfish, narcissistic people.
Mm-hmm.
And no lives really matter other than our own. And it works this way out, right? Like our kids, if we have kids, and our family, and that's how it really works out. Now, why is this movement becoming so big? Because there really is, like, it hurts us. It hurts our narcissism to see something like that happen. Like, what? This can't be real. Somebody, my color can't actually be doing that. Like, I think that's the reality of it is that we can't believe that it's actually like, wow, this has to stop. This is crazy, right? And it is. I mean, police doing, every day I see something else happen. I'm like, what were they like? How much effort does it take just to say like, hey, we probably shouldn't do this? Just probably, like even if you're going by the book per se, like, hello, just be gentle, be kind. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm frothing at the mouth. Lynn says that doesn't mean you can be excused from obeying laws. That would be, that's Cass. Yeah, and there's that too. It's like,
yeah,
it disturbs, and I just don't think. Look, there may be a ton of validity. I don't know. I'm not even probably able to apprehend, right, or even connect with the validity of when people say, I saw a friend of mine, and I love him, but he posted something that said, I love him. And he posted something that said, all those people that talk about school shooters, that it's just a bunch of trauma that caused that school shooting. Well, imagine 200 years of school shooting. That's what you have with everybody who's rioting now. And I don't think that hits the way he'd hoped it hits. Like, people like my wife who see that think, oh my God, so we have 1,000 school shooters running around. Well, that's terrifying.
Yeah.
What? Like, I don't know. It doesn't make me feel like, okay, well, there's something needs to be fixed in society. It makes me feel like, well, we're screwed.
Yeah. Well, and it gets down to living in survival mode too, which is something for myself I've had to work on, to not live out of survival mode, even if finances are tight and it's like, all right, how are we going to get by? Or, I got all this work to do. How am I going to get all this done? To not constantly live out of that survival and to live out of it flourishing. But when you're in a situation, you have no hope. Like there's no end to the cycle of survival and fight or flight just across the street in some places. And it's like, where does that end? When people say, there's like bootstrap theory, which in a sense is correct, but I could say to myself, oh, I just started my business and, da 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 da, but that's not true, because I worked with my dad and he taught me to paint, and my wife helped me, and I've had a lot of people help me get to where I am in my business. And I did not just pull myself up from the ground and start painting. That didn't happen. And, I've talked to my wife about this too, and said, you know, like some people don't even know how to put their boots on. Like they don't even have boots, and it's like, so you're going to tell
Yeah.
them, you know, you should just be, and it's just like, well, okay, they don't even know how to paint, and they don't have someone to teach them how to paint. So how would I sit there and say, well, you know, you could just, there's a lot of painting work. You could just start painting. And it's just like, and that's sort of the narrative in the conversation that sort of comes from, you know, the right and, you know, Trump
Yeah.
sometimes where
I agree.
that's where it's less compassionate. And it's like, you
Yeah.
know, even, you know, the RNC and some of the things they were saying in the speeches, like there wasn't a moment. If I think if they had just acknowledged like there's pain and we see your pain and suffering and there are injustices that have happened to you, but there was not a moment of that. It was just we're gonna have law and order, and it's which okay, we have to have law and order to keep society together. I don't think anyone's disputing that. Just like no one's disputing like the horrors that have happened with the shootings. And so it's just like is there a moment to stop like being political and just like yeah, we have to have
Well, but
empathy.
the thing is though is that there's not a moment to stop being political for politicians, and I think if we think
Well,
if that's going to happen, we think that's going to happen, and the truth is well, I don't know if this is the truth, but the from my perspective, my opinion is that politics have been happening for years like this. This is
yeah.
nothing new. People have been thoroughly political. I mean, Abraham Lincoln was one of the nastiest politicians of all time.
Oh yeah.
Just known for his nastiness, and yet, you know why he's not considered a Trump type person? It's because there's no social media. There's no 24/7 news. I am fully. I think we talked about this last time about the pseudo internet of the of news and it's not even news. It's like the pseudo news. It's just a constant flow of information that who knows how much of it is right, but
Well,
it
yeah.
is just it's just tons of information about people and about the people that are leading us, and we know more and really know more about anybody in office now than we have ever known, and we
Oh
know more
yeah.
about people in I know more about people in Florida than I should ever know, right? Like I'm watching people comment, like I'm getting to know people in Florida comment on a local election, and I'm thinking this is not meant to be. They should have their thing. I should not even know what people are thinking over there. But
well,
here we are.
well, yeah, and this is a bigger, broader topic, probably for another time. But it's like I've had this idea of like, I've heard some people say like, the president is a crazy job, right? And to like run for president, saying that first of all, saying that you could do a good job being president is crazy, and that you could do a better job than someone else. It's just like, I don't know how you could do that without like say those words without being clinical. Like I don't see a way possible. I'm just like, but I'm like, what
I
if there
wouldn't
was?
I wouldn't even want to be my boss. It's like,
It's almost like we need a board of directors now.
yeah. But see,
I was
the
like,
thing is we don't the difficulty is now that everything is global, and it's global on a much more intimate in a more intimate state because of social media and the internet.
yeah.
We are in each other's bedrooms every day, right here, like, okay, yeah, okay, and we're not seeing anything. We're seeing this more than we're seeing
Right.
we're living in virtual reality. And COVID has not helped that one bit, especially for us privileged white people. We're just, oh man,
It's
my
so
side is
bad.
winning, my side is losing.
Yeah.
We can't see outside of our virtual reality in front of us all the time. And I'm the chiefest of sinners as far as this goes.
Yeah. It feels like it's hard to come to a conclusion, like a conversation like this, but it's like what it is like. I do feel like there's this huge gap in perception and understanding, and it's even being able to help. And it's just like how it's like how do people in our situation seeing these things actually help, and actually
Yeah.
process these things in a way that's appropriate and correct, and beyond just ourselves and getting stuck in everything we have to do. It really, my life is
Yeah.
almost, in some ways it's kind of normal just because I've been sitting at home. So I mean, we're homeschooling, so that's
Yeah.
different. But
A little bit. A little bit. You're already kind of doing it.
yeah,
Half and half.
yeah, we were already starting with one of our
Yeah.
kids, and then so that helped that we were sort of transitioning that way before, but now it's just so there's all these other people that need help, and it's just like uh, you know
Yeah.
where do we
Where do
even
you
start?
start?
Yeah.
Yeah. Lynn says, I wonder how much is pride when people don't reach out to ask about the programs that are available at local, state, and federal levels and get out to get out of survival mode. I understand that. I think though that when you get in a state of hopelessness, it's like, I don't know, reaching out to a local program is just, there's nothing really appealing about that.
Yeah.
I mean, you're somebody who
Well,
worked for the Parks and Rec,
yeah.
right?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it just gets to a point of just like, well, this is, and it's, again, it's not exactly like, in schools and the system and everything we're talking about, but it's just like, okay, I worked for a landscaper, and it was like we worked till dark, and that's just how it is. You work as many hours as you can to get as
Yeah.
much work done as you can. There, it's like the park's going to be here tomorrow, and the next day, and next month, and next year, and it's like, well,
Yeah.
I didn't finish mowing this. It's 3:15, 3 o'clock. Time to go back. All right, we'll pick it up tomorrow, maybe, or do something else that just kind of float around, and like as long as you're doing something, and like there's a couple basic things that need to be taken care of, like, but other than that, it's just like, just kind of stay busy and or look busy, and like I worked hard while I was there, but not everyone did. So
Yeah. Well, and I think that's like, it's hard for me to trust any kind of local program, any kind of local uh pro government type thing. I mean, the amount of paperwork that goes into anything, and it's completely perceived. I'm not saying there is a bunch of paperwork to get involved in any of these programs. I'm just saying that's my perception, and I have very little to, I mean, I fairly used to and fairly accustomed to filling out paperwork. I just can't imagine some people in more desperate situations viewing these programs as something of a respite when it just seems like the distrust is so high. It's high for me. I can't
yeah,
imagine it's any lower for anyone else. Now, I do know families and couples and single parent homes that they work their asses off to get the paperwork done and to
yeah,
be involved and to get that stuff done. And they do a really good job, way better than I could ever do.
yeah,
And I know I know how difficult that is and how much BS they have to put up with to do that kind of stuff.
yeah.
And I don't want to do it myself. you
Well,
know?
when I was going to school, we had no money, so I was, we got assistance, but you had to sit in the office sometimes for like 2 or 3 hours waiting, and
That's
like,
the other thing. Yeah.
and you have to renew it every year, and it's a lot of stuff that could easily be done like on a website.
Please, sir,
Yeah,
I have some more.
But and it feels very dehumanizing. And there's
It
there's
does.
there's a security guard there, and if people are doing certain things, the security guard yells at people. I was there one time, and someone's car literally got towed away, like got repossessed while she was there with her kids, and it's just like, okay, they're there getting help, and then
Yeah.
truck
I,
comes and just takes their vehicle, and how do they even get back home from the office?
it's like kick me while I'm down, Yeah.
Yeah.
Kick them while they're down. And well, okay, so I got to wrap up here, but I don't want to end. It's important for me. It's increasingly important for me in these that we don't just end saying, "Well, it's all BS and we just nothing." Like what is it that me and you can do? Is there something that we can change today, tomorrow, today? Change in our hearts that can help.
I mean, I think it's. I think at the beginning of the pandemic and when the protests started, it was really just starting to listen to stories and kind of seeking out stories from people and actually listening to what's actually going on. I think, and talking less and making judgments less about where people are and where they are. And I think for me, it really, I have to listen a lot because it's shocking to me how insulated I've been from so many things. And I'm always
Yeah,
hearing things, whether it's, like reading, I mean, even read an article like on the theology of, churches in Europe, back in like starting in the 1600s, that led to the slave trade and things like that are just like, well, you look at these institutions and churches and it's just like, oh, they're respectable for us, and that's all we've been taught. And then you see this other side and it's just like, okay, like that's a different approach, or that's new information, and it's like, okay, I need to just stop and listen to this before I say, well, that's not what I was taught.
Well, what does that do though?
I think I guess on a personal level with our family, I think the way we teach our kids history is really like we're trying to be really conscious about having a more balanced and less Eurocentric or Eurocentric view of the world, and we want to see the whole world. And I think for me, even like one of my dream theology projects that I will probably never ever have time to do is to write like a theology of the rest of the world, of Africa, Asia, South America, like, or theology, history. We got taught. When I went to Bible school, they teach Western civilization, and it's literally Europe. Like Constantinople happens, the church goes east, and then it's just Europe to Europe to North America, and there's things happening in the rest of the world, and it's like that consciousness is missing. And even looking at the global church, like that's where it's happening now. Those are all the places where it's happening. It's not happening here. Like we're shut down because of the pandemic. Like period. End of story. Like COVID. Period. Shut down. But in the rest of the world, it's happening and it's vibrant and it's thriving.
That's true.
And that's what we've been shut off to. And I think that's sort of a window that's opening up to us now.
I think so. I agree. Lynn says, "Don't forget to pay for those who seem to be our enemies." I have to be reminded to. Yeah, I think not just our enemies, but maybe like you're saying, this like there's ways that we can get involved financially. I think with our time too. I mean, I know people are scared and in their homes with COVID, but I think that there's some courage that can be obtained, and that can be tapped into to get out there and just trust God, and to help those that just need a hug maybe right now. I mean,
Yeah.
it's interesting, like how many people just haven't hugged anybody in a long time, you know, and haven't had any contact with physical. Like, sure, Zoom and stuff is nice, you know. I'm glad we don't have nothing, you know. I'm glad we have something. However, there's something about being there in somebody's house. I challenge people to, you know, if you have to wear a mask for 2 weeks, go in somebody's house. You know, somebody that needs help. Go and give somebody a hug. If you got to quarantine for 2 weeks, just, you know, it's worth it. Also, Lynn says, what she said? Pray. And said, oops. But yeah, directly help too. Yeah. Praying is not something just to be ignored. You know, one thing that is lost is that we just don't do it right away. You know, it's like, Lord, right now we just pray that you would break these bonds, Jesus. You just break these bonds of fear and selfishness in me, Lord, and help us just to wake up to the suffering, and show us ways that we can help. Amen.
Yeah.
Well, dude, I really appreciate you coming on and talking about this with me. There's a lot, you know. Some of it is venting for a couple of white dudes like me and you, and some of it is like, this is our life. You know, this is something we want to talk about.
Yeah. I think we just need to wake up to reality.
Yeah, yeah. Whatever that may be.
Yeah.
Unplugged from the matrix in a sense.
Yeah.
All right. Well, hopefully we can do this again. Fridays work okay for you?
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. All right. Well, they work good for me. And anybody who wants to tune in, we'll be here back next Friday. Talk a little bit more. If this is your sort of bag, baby.
All right. See
All
you Friday.
right.